time. Yep. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Happy Sunday. Welcome. We are here. It is World Mental Health Day, and we've got an amazing book coming out, which we are celebrating. We're happy to share with you guys. We're going to share the link with y'all. This is pretty cool. So, Melissa, this is your baby. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what this thing is and what motivated you to start it.
Okay. What it is a collaboration book of women from all walks of life, multiple countries, with all very different stories, but very similar pain, right? Women, we go through so much. And I have been having lots of live events before COVID hit, and then COVID hit and I had to go virtual, and I was helping women write books, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to have a bigger scale, more women in one place, shorter chapters so that you could get basically to the meat of the subject right away. And I hand selected a group of 9 women that contributed to this book, and each story is different, but it's powerful. And what I love about each and every one of these women is at the end, it's such a victorious win, even though the battles were monstrous dragons. So this allowed me to reach out to people across country. I mean, I would never have met Erin if it weren't for the pandemic. I wouldn't have met Caroline. I wouldn't have met Tequila, Doree, Haley, we would have met. But it's about just doing the best with what you're given in the moment. And that's what I was given. I was given the opportunity to create a collaboration book. I wanted it to become a series. So as soon as this one is completely published, at the beginning of the year, we'll start a second one. So I'm excited.
That is cool. It is very cool. I am trying to figure out how to deal with this link because it is like crazy long.
One of the things that makes this book different is that we cover so many different things, from body shaming to suicide ideation, child sexual abuse, addiction and recovery, racism. There's so much in this one book, yet it's still a size that you can sit down and read it in an afternoon. And it's filled with resources as well. So at the end of each story, I've plugged in how you can reach the professionals if you've gone through or going through something similar to what the woman wrote about in the chapter. And we're also, for the pre-orders today, giving away a journal/coloring book/planner, because I never fill my journal, I never use all my planner pages, and I never color all the pages in my book. So I figured, let's make a hybrid, make it really cool, and give that out as a thank you for helping support us and support Safe in Harm's Way, who is receiving 50% of all of the proceeds from the sales in October for this book.
That is so cool. So I'd love if we could go around and have each woman introduce herself, each of the authors who's here introduce herself, and give us a sneak preview, but don't give away all the goods, for their chapter. So I see Erin first, so I'll let you go first, Erin.
Cool. So yeah, I'm Erin. The post that I did on Facebook today, the way that I spoke about it was that my chapter is one that a lot of people are going to skip over, because I talk about childhood sexual abuse, which is such a shame-filled, like, we don't even fucking talk about it. Let's just put that under the rug. Like, can't even mention it. That's so not fucking okay. And so a lot of people don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to even read about it. And yet millions of women are going to be able to relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is so, like, I wish I could say my story was unique. I wish I could say I'm the only one who struggled with this, but it's so much more common than we think it is. And that was one of the big pushing factors for me to do the book, because there was a time where I couldn't talk about it. There was a time where there was too much shame to talk about it. And I was carrying around all of the shame and fear and crap that wasn't mine to carry. And doing my hard work and healing allowed me to get to a point to talk about it. And so what I want to do is reach women who are at the beginning of that journey and just need to know that they're not alone, or are in the middle of that journey and know that as painful as it is, just keep going, because there's an end to it, or women who are towards the end of that healing journey, to help them recognize that, other women need to hear their story too. So that there's so many women that I'm hoping will relate to this and see themselves in it and get the message that they're not alone and it's not just them. So that's my reasoning behind doing it, because I'm not unique. My story is not unique. I work with women now to help them build businesses in spite of whatever trauma they've gone through, because women who make money change the world. Women who make money have choices. Women who make money have power. And that for me is, we need to be doing that. So I want to reach those women and let them know, you're not alone. I'm here. There's a million other people like me out there too. And you're believed. You can do it. And yeah, it's really, 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 really hard. And it's also, it's okay to be wherever you're at in the journey. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Caroline.
I want to just piggyback real quick on what Erin said, and it is so true. And it's why it's important we all support each other through the things that we go through. And that is that women make impact when they make money, and when you give the patriarchy a lot of money, they invest in themselves.
Penis rockets.
Right, exactly. When you give a woman a lot of money, she invests in her community, in her children, in her sisters, and in bettering the world. Very typically, most entrepreneur females that I meet have some nonprofit that they're automatically tied to, or have some way that they're tithing to the world. And that is something that we need to talk more about, because it is important that we support each other in the things that we do, so that we can all make a bigger impact.
Yep.
Totally. I mean, it's part of the way I do mine. I will say, my group, all the stuff I do, it's a huge give back. It's not, everybody thinks, oh, you're making money hand over fist. I mean, I'm doing okay, but it's really about giving back to the world more than anything. So let's go pick on Caroline now.
All right. Thank you. First of all, I want to say I'm so excited to be here and included in this group of women. Erin, thank you for sharing your story. I've yet to read everybody's story. So I think what's beautiful about what you brought up, and if you look at the different faces and the different colors of people and the different everything about folks, we are a cross representation of what goes on in the world. And so for us to be able to share our stories, it's really an opportunity for some other person, one moment, one person at a time, to feel less shame and less darkness in their own journey. And when you do that, then you allow people to find the right resources they need to take that step, regardless of whatever part of that step that they're on in their own pathway. So thank you for having me today. And thank you for all the fabulous women who contributed this. And thank you, Melissa, for bringing us all together, because when women do unite, we do get to change the world. So I'm Carolyn Markel Hammond, and I am the founder and CEO of Safe in Harm's Way. So big, like curtsy and deep bow of gratitude to 50% of October's book sales going to Safe in Harm's Way. So what we do at Safe in Harm's Way is much like my own journey. We allow people to find the right vocabulary to label the feelings in their relationships, so that they can tie those feelings to what's occurring in their relationships and find the proper resources they need in order to build a life for them that's filled with way more joy, happiness, and safety than they've ever experienced before. So my chapter is called The Ever-Present Dragon, and it is the component of my pathway through living in a relationship that for 7.5 years, I didn't have the proper tools or vocabulary to label my experiences. And because of that, I stayed in situations that just got more and more and more egregious by continuing to believe the man who looked me in the eye, claimed he loved me, and was issuing horrific abuse at home. So the ever-present dragon is the fact that that person, when you're dealing with someone who chooses to use abuse, at the same time claiming to love, what you have in that journey is it's always there. Even though the facade looks good at the outside, it is always there. So I wanted to be able to give that because so many people, and I use the female pronouns because I'm a girl. This is my story. I also know this happens to men. I also know this happens to people who are gender fluid or to people in the LGBTQ plus community. So please don't let the pronoun usage diminish the story because I understand all that. It's just as part of my story and choosing to share this, my hope, again, somebody feels less alone in the world. But we can start to peel back the layers of that question, which I hear most often and kind of makes my skin crawl, which is, why didn't she just leave? So wanted to be able to kind of bring that to the forefront and have the discussions because so many people want to deflect. Well, that's not me. I mean, I'm sad a lot in my relationship and I worry a lot, but well, at least he's not hitting me. Or at least he doesn't hit me as hard as what I saw my dad hit my mom, or all these abilities and ways to deflect. We're going to do that hard work. And Erin, you said it perfectly. It is hard work to heal from these things. But what Melissa's done in bringing us all together is to show the examples of what that hard work looks like and success on the other side. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be getting to know all of you. And I think to everyone who's come along on this journey with us so far, today's the day. Place your pre-order. You can place a pre-order for 99 cents for Dragon Slayers Wear Lipstick, and you don't need a Kindle. You can put it, there's a free app you can download and that you can read off of. So don't let the fact that you've got a Kindle option stop you from purchasing today. You can use different free apps to read that Kindle product. So spend the 99 cents.
Can I ask you something there? Can I ask you something on that? So if you've got another e-reader like a Kobo or something, is it transferable as well or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
I believe if there's internet access on the reader, they can actually read it through an app.
Mm-hmm.
It can be read on a phone.
Yeah.
Right, but it wouldn't go to like the library of a Kobo versus a Kindle.
No, you would actually read it through the Amazon. I believe there is an Amazon, like an app, so you don't have to have Kindle.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I have a question too, and this is just me and my technology. And please, I know my children are going to watch this, but don't tell them or they'll say that nasty phrase to me, which is we're going to take technology away from mom. But I mean, are we live here? Or are we?
We are live.
Okay, so I'm going to pop in the chat and I'm going to put some resources and I'm going to put the app that you can download that's free. I'm also going to say, like, if you purchase your pre-order and you show a purchase and you respond in this chat, then I'm going to put everybody into a link, and there's a 3-day conference coming up next weekend that people who've survived a myriad of things are putting on. That's a virtual conference that's $333. But anyone who posts their picture with the hashtag of Dragon Slayers Wear Lipstick, I'll put them into a raffle, and I'll raffle off a free weekend session, which is about a $333 value.
Awesome.
For people who want to post in that. So I'm going to start putting it in the chat and the comments so people can see it and guess. And all they have to do is come back through whenever they watch it, or if they're watching it now and they've already purchased it and they want to hold up their phone and use the hashtag of Dragon Slayers Wear Lipstick, then I'll be sure to put them into the raffle.
Thank you. Yay.
Yeah.
Cool. This is so exciting to see and hear everybody's stories. Tequila, I'm going to let you go next.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be part of this book. It's been an honor to write. Thank you, Melissa. I know that there were times where I was in her inbox like, are you sure I should write a book? And having the days of hesitation of even continuously writing the story. But my chapter is called The Black Card. And it is a story that is just not my story. Like Carolina said, this is a million other women stories that will read this. You will read the different things that I gone through or have gone through. And, I can foresee going through in the entrepreneurship career that people will see their self in it if they're not in it now. And it's a moment where I think the world will have to really pause and kind of think of how they've either involved themselves in this or how they're going to actually take action and do something different for people who have been affected, in the entrepreneur world. And one of my peak questions when it comes to thinking, like a thought-provoking question that I love and I want people to think about as they are reading my story is, is it me? Have I been part of this in a way where it affects, women, some men in the entrepreneurship? And what can I do about this now? So many times, we can read a story and we think, yeah, this will never happen to me, or I don't want to take action now. But if it's something that continuously happens, then what effect is it going to have on the world? And what effect will it have on our generations to come? So, in my chapter, I'm just being very, very authentic. I mean, when I say it, I'm authentic as fuck. And I see that as your title. I was very authentic and I did not hold back, but I just hope that it will really shape the way in which we see individuals in the entrepreneurship world. Yes. Thank you.
I love that so much. Melissa, were you going to say something?
Actually, Tequila's chapter was extremely important to me, being that I have a multiracial daughter, and having her message in the way that she presented it out to the world, it's actually going to do more to change the mindset of women that look like me than the women that look like Tequila. Because what she did is she broke free of a lot of the stigmas that are placed on Black women that are unfair. Mm-hmm. And she explained it in a way that there'll be immediate light bulbs that go on with empathy and sympathy for what our Black sisters go through. And it's really going to help us rise together as a gender. So I thank you again, Tequila. Your vulnerability in that chapter was absolutely beautiful. I have goosebumps actually talking about it, because it was just my daughter will be reading that as soon as she's old enough to read.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course.
I love it. Thank you, Tequila. Can't wait to read your chapter too. Doree.
Hi. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see all your beautiful faces. Well, my chapter was actually a really hard one to write because I got really honest about something that I kind of hide a little bit behind. And one of the things I've realized when I'm coming out as a recovering alcoholic is that I need to be honest about everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so part of my story is around being a promiscuous teenager and the effects that had in the realm of being bullied. I was bullied really, really, I mean, it was pretty intense, and it was intense to the point that it almost took me down. So what I was hoping, I think about the women that I work with and the people that I talk to about my story about being a recovering alcoholic and the things that I went through in order to get sober. and I have not covered this piece of it, out of shame. And so I had to get past the shame of being a promiscuous teenager, being a promiscuous 20-year-old, 30-year-old, into up to the time I got sober, and just being open and honest about it, but the damage that it did, and then the repercussions of what happens when people find out of the things that you've done, and maybe not done, because some of the tales grow taller as the story gets out, which was sort of my case. So anyway, Melissa, thank you so much for pulling this out of me, because it's something that I wanted to hide behind and not share with anyone out of shame. But I'm hoping that it can help other women that have been through this, other young women that are going through this, to realize that it doesn't define us. We're strong. We can stand up to bullies, and we can also, what we've done in our past is what we've done in our past. So anyway, thank you, Melissa. And thank you, Haley, for letting me share this today.
Thank you, Doree. That is one of the other things that I have to say, when it comes to putting together a collaboration book and being able to find women who are not only going to write a chapter, but be willing to show behind the veil, right? We share so much on social media about how great life is. Everything's good. Business is good. I'm happy. Yay. And occasionally we might complain a little bit, but for the most part, it stays pretty positive. But it's a facade. Most of us right now have gone through something in the past 18 months or are going through something. When Doree told me what she wanted to write about, I immediately resonated with her, because I remember, you got to lead by example, right, guys? I remember being in high school and being a promiscuous teenager in the high school bathroom, right? And there is, even as I say it, I'm like, am I blushing? Because we don't want to talk about that stuff. And when Doree and I were speaking, and there's going to be merchandise that comes for the book in a couple of weeks. And one of them is going to be a t-shirt that says #reformed_slut, because there's no reason we have to hide behind the behavior that we had. There's no reason to feel bad about it, that we did something, that we were looking for love. We were looking for what we thought was going to make us feel good in the moment. And we didn't know any better. And if our story, I actually have the book set at 14 and up. If our story can help a girl like Erin, myself, Doree, when we were younger, then I want them to read these stories, because they're harsh and they're real, but it can help her feel good now and not have to wait till she's 40 something, right?
I think it's really important to recognize that all of those behaviors, whether it's, promiscuity or like the million others that I could label, they exist for a reason. Nobody wakes up one day and goes, oh, it'll be fun to try. Let me try this. Like, we don't do that, right? It exists for a reason, because it's a coping mechanism. And it's a coping mechanism based on what we knew at the time, the developmental stage we were at, the learning we had had, the trauma we had had. And so when we can see it through that lens and be like, okay, it makes sense that that's what happened there. Do I feel good about it? No, but it makes sense. Then we can start to get to a place where we can have that compassion and empathy for ourselves and develop coping skills that serve us better now and that are healthier for us, rather than what we did just to survive.
I love that, Erin. Thank you for putting it in that perspective, because it's so true. Everybody wants to slut shame and do all of these different things for other people, on other people, but what are other people doing in order to try to cope and get what they want, what they feel like they need, and identify what it is.
Yeah. And we've normalized so many of those coping mechanisms in our society. Like, you bring up alcoholism. We've normalized the use of alcohol as a coping mechanism in our world. We've normalized it, right? And so nobody thinks twice about it. I was watching a show the other day where they were drinking to cope, and I was like, this is just normal. Like, and people don't blink twice at it. And it's simply because of our societal lens and views that some things are normalized and others aren't. That's all. Right? It's so, and Caroline had posted in the chat here, like 1 in 5 girls will suffer from sexual abuse, and 1 in 20 boys. I love that we have stats. However, I want to point out that that's 1 in 5 that are reported, or 1 in 20 that are reported. And because of those societal views and expectations and how fucked our societal standards are, so many more are not reporting it, right? And so when we look at behaviors like that, instead of judging, if we go, what haven't you talked about? What isn't there? Why is this behavior here? And we approach it with curiosity and empathy and wanting to really connect with the hurt and the pain underneath it, then we can start to heal.
I think it's hard, especially, if it's happening in the home. Right. If it's happening in the home, children are afraid to talk about it.
Of course.
Young girls are afraid to bring it up. The parent that is not the perpetrator is going to be hurt. They're going to feel guilty, even though, a lot of times they didn't know, and there was nothing that they maybe could have done, but couldn't do. There's so many things wrapped around it. But when it's not talked about, these behaviors come out. And if we can help other parents look for signs, that's another thing. What is your teenage daughter or son doing that's going to lead to, letting you know they're being abused in some way, sexually or, domestic violence, because teenage girls are high victims of actual domestic violence cases, even though they're just in high school. Their boyfriends are already beating them up. So as parents, to be able to know what some of those signs are is really important too.
And I just love how this book is going to bring a level of awareness to those areas.
Yep.
Like, it's really going to flip the lid off of some individuals, and it's always about, we're speaking to one person, right? We're just speaking to that one person. If we can get to the heart of one person, we know that we done what we needed to do. So that's why I'm excited, about the launching of this. The story will pierce the heart of someone who would definitely open and say, that's me, and I need to speak up about it, and I'm going to do something about it. So it's going to make a change.
And, to piggyback on that, Tequila, we are normalizing talking about it in a society that normalizes hiding it. And so that's why, another reason it's so important. Yeah, we need to normalize that so people see themselves in the story and go, I can talk about this. Look at these women talking about this, rather than keeping those secrets, because that's the conditioning we get to do.
And understand that even though we're talking about it, I won't speak for the rest of you, but when I tell some of these things, I'm cringing a little on the inside. I'm like, oh, I really shared that. But if we don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable, we can't help other women, and we can't change the world. So those that are willing to get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's our duty. It's our duty to show up. It's our duty to tell the truth. It's our duty to be authentic for those that just aren't quite ready yet.
Melissa, that's so true. And there were many times I thought about calling you and going, pull my chapter, because of the fact that, what are my parents going to think? What are, all these things about what other people think about us, you're going to start coming through. And then it was like, absolutely not. No. If one woman can read this and it, like you said, Tequila, and it helps them, forget it. It's worth it. So thank you for continuing to stand by me in this process, because I really was at one point like, I just want to call Melissa and say, pull my chapter, because I was just ashamed. The shame of what I had written about what I had done was just pulling at me. And then, secrets love to stay in the dark, and they love to grow and be nurtured in the dark. And if we throw a light on them, somehow they just start to shrink. So that's what we're doing here. And I'm proud to be a part of this with all you women. So thank you.
I'm so glad you didn't call me and ask me to pull, because that would have been a hard conversation for you. And I say that because it's one of those things that if it's hard, that means you're probably healing through it, because healing is painful. So if I were to ask you how you feel today about you compared to, a few weeks ago when you're like, maybe she should pull my chapter, do you feel more empowered now that it's out there and you were honest?
Totally. I feel so much stronger, empowered, and a little more nurturing in a lot of ways as well, for my teenage stepdaughters, and being able to kind of sympathize a little bit more, and to look through a different lens. It's helped me through that process, because otherwise it was, you know, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, everything is just so strict, and then you have to realize that people are going through all three different things. And so yeah, writing this and getting it out there was a big healing process for me, for something I didn't even realize had not healed.
I love that you said secrets love the dark. And it's funny because as we become more present and as we show up more to a larger part of the population, it's things like, senators and presidents and, Oprah. What are they going to find about me? What are they going to find? Well, if you wrote in this book, they're probably not going to find anything now because you already put it out there. There's nothing else to find. And that's actually a really good feeling. It's to know that you've shared unashamedly, unabashedly, whatever, I'm going to make up words, every truth about you, knowing that you're fine. You're okay. You got through it. You're not judging yourself. The people around you aren't judging you. So who cares what other people think? And now you're on the other side and nobody can find any dirt. I like that part.
There's freedom in authenticity.
Yes.
There's freedom in sharing the dark stuff ourselves, because like Doree said, when we put it out into the light, it's somehow less shameful. And Brene Brown puts it really well, where she says, empathy is the antidote to shame, right? And when we put it out there in the light, we have other people going, fuck me too. Are we going to have people who are going to judge? Of course, yeah. But that's about them, not about us, right? And when we can recognize that there's freedom in that, when we can let other people have their shit and be like, okay, cool, and I'm gonna go do me. There's a lot of freedom that comes in that, because it frees up so much brain space. It frees up what we're worrying about and stressing about, which allows us to focus on actually making the change we want to and doing the things we want to, rather than surviving the shit in our head. There's freedom in letting the shame lie with who it actually needs to lie with, right? Because it doesn't matter what, none of the women in this book, none of their stories, the shame is not ours. And there's freedom in being able to put that shame down and be like, I'm not carrying that anymore. And that comes from talking about it.
Absolutely.
And the level of wellness that it brings, right? Like you're like, the healing is promoting more of your wellness in a perspective where you're not feeling sick now that you've let this big secret out. Like I think that it's going to bring a level of wellness to so many people. When they read your stories, like our stories, they're going to say, wow, I feel good because I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. And that's why I say, if not now, when? Or when is it going to be time? It's time now. And I'm glad that we all put our big girl panties on and said, we're doing it. Right? We're doing this. So, well done again, ladies.
It's like lancing an emotional boil is what it's like. The more we don't and we cover it up, then the more it just grows and festers and the more painful it becomes. And when you initially do that first push, it hurts like hell, and then it feels so much better. So that's just the way I kind of equate it in my head.
Yeah. Yes.
Can I just say one thing? Because we always think of, when we say something, who will we lose?
Yeah.
I would rather lose the fans than gain friends, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to gain friends, people who can resonate with your story, and they're going to, consistently invest in who you are overall. So I'm like, I'm not worried about my credibility. I'm just really worried. I'm not worried about anything. I want to help more women in the position. So yeah, bring it on, friends.
Tequila, I love that you said that as well, because you think about it as business women as well as entrepreneurs. We're also worried about what clients are we going to lose.
Right.
And I would rather have clients that get me, understand me, and can appreciate what I've been through than those that are just not going to understand me and be judgmental of me. So very well said.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I actually, when I first started learning about, like years ago now, about like effective marketing and attracting my people, and do you know how fucking excited I got that I'm like, I can piss people off intentionally so they'll leave and then I don't have to deal with them. This is amazing. And then I got into doing that. And it's so true when we can do that, because you're absolutely right. I don't want clients or friends or partners or family members who are going to buy into that shaming me part, or going to buy into the you should just shut up about it part. I don't need that shit in my life. I really don't. And the truth of it is, the more open and authentic, like my business name didn't just come about accidentally. Like there's a reason for it, right? Because the more authentic I became and the more I stepped into my truth and my story, the quality of my clients increased so much. The amount of work that they are willing to put in increased so much. I stopped having people who were not doing their work, who were shitty clients to have. I stopped having friends who were shitty friends. Like it just, the quality of people in my life improved so much. And as I get older, ain't nobody got time for that shit. I do not have time for people who are invested in staying stuck, or for people who are invested in me staying stuck.
That's exactly it. That's you mentioned a huge pet peeve of mine, and that's when you're working with a client and they're not going to do the work. And granted, they're paying you regardless, but it's frustrating to see somebody, you can't want it for them more than they want it. And I have found that as I got more comfortable being polarizing in my business, it's helping me line up with people that are more aligned to deal with me. And they're not going to be shocked when they get on a call with me. And they're not going to be shocked when I speak to them a certain way, because everybody that I work with now knows I want the best for you. And I know what you're capable of. That's why we're working together. And I'm going to make sure that you know it too. And that's not always comfortable. So being polarizing in life and being polarizing in business, I have learned that is so important now. It just gets rid of so much of the shit.
Yep. It's one of the reasons I swear so liberally, partly because I just love the words. And they're just like, fuck is my favorite word in the world, because it's so versatile. You can do so much with it. But when I used to like have a personal persona and a public persona, and then the more healing I did, they just became one, because it's me. And without fail, I got an email this morning from someone, I can't look at your content because of the swearing. Okay, bye. Because the rest of my clients are all like, oh my God, you fucking swore on a webinar. That was amazing. You're a human being. I resonate with you. It's just one of those reasons, right? And whether it's swearing or telling our stories or talking about the shame or not wearing makeup or whatever it is, whatever the thing is that makes you you is the thing that we need to be putting out there. And that includes these traumas that we're all dealing with, because they're a part of who we are. A painful part, sure, but they are a part of how we became who we are. And if we're trying to hide from that, we're trying to hide from who we are. Fuck that for a bad joke.
Yeah. And I think, for anyone listening on this, to all of us, we're at a point where someone who could be listening is just discovering this about themselves, or just discovering this part of themselves. And it feels so heavy. I mean, do you all remember that? I mean, I had days I could not get out of bed. I had days I couldn't stop crying. I had days where life was perfect, and suddenly I'm bawling in like the pickle aisle at the grocery store. Insanity. It's overwhelming. I had to write my name on a Post-it because there were days I could not remember who I was. So I want to put out that I have goosebumps from hearing everybody and the authenticity that we bring to ourselves professionally and in our personal relationships. And I want to raise my hand and say, if any folks are on the beginning of this journey and you're wondering, gosh, if I start to speak my truth, will anyone love me? Will I find a personal relationship that brings me love? Am I damaged in some way? And I hope what you hear loud and clear in a marching band and fireworks level noise, the answer is you are worthy of it all. You are worthy. And if you find the right people, they're going to love you, because everybody's got their shit. So if you find the right people, they'll love you. And if you don't find the right people, if you share yourself with someone, and your choice to share and not share to whatever extent you want, and they don't respond, well, then they weren't your people. Much like in business, if they weren't your clients, in love and friendship, in the personal side of things, if you share your story at that level too, and they respond in a way that isn't kind or supportive, they're just holding space for the person who's supposed to be there. So let them go. So these first moment journeys, I hope everybody's listening to all of, whether it's exceeding and excelling in your business, you can also do it in your personal life. And you just have to take one tiny step at a time, which the beauty of this book, which Melissa said earlier in the broadcast, is each of our chapters has 5 or 6 next steps for everybody to take. So we get to, people aren't just going to read this and go, what do I do now? People are going to read it and have 6 things to immediately do. So, I love these stories, and it gives me such fuel. And I just want to remind everyone, if you're in the beginning or in the middle, when it's still kind of heavy and ugly, listen, because sisters, brothers, it gets better.
And I want to piggyback on that too, Caroline, by saying that extreme independence is a really common trauma response, especially in women, where we get to a place of help isn't available, or there's no point in asking for help, or I can do it my damn self, or whatever that is. And so if you're at that point where you're, at the beginning or the middle or towards the end of your journey, if you're having that knee-jerk response of I do it my damn self, you don't have to. We're not supposed to. We're not built to. And having to do it alone is bullshit societal conditioning that is a lie. That doing it alone makes you strong. Now, are you strong if you can do it alone? Of course. Are you strong if you can't do it alone? Of course. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should have to. And having that support makes it easier, makes it lighter, makes it faster, makes it, I spent 15 years with the I'm gonna do it my damn self, and I made 15 years of my life so much harder than it needed to be. And it's the shit of it, because trauma can rewire our brain to teach us that people are dangerous, and that's a physical rewiring that's happening, right? And yet the healing only comes with connection with other people, right? And so we can rewire our brains back or rewire our brains to be able to connect. But it's okay if it feels really scary to connect. It's okay if you don't understand or know how to connect or find those right people. Because we very often think we found those right people and then they turn out not to be. And then that adds to that rewiring of our brain, right? So I speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure everybody here, even if what your next step after reading this book is just to reach out to one of us, that's huge. Do that, please, because we can't heal without connection with other people.
Yeah, that's
I want to talk again.
Great. Thank you for sharing that.
About the importance of authenticity, and it's something that if you get a chance to have a conversation with Erin or follow her group, join her group, follow her, you'll see somebody who is 110% transparent all the time. And she has collected a group of women that I've been slowly getting to know that are amazing and authentic. And it's scary. As a fat girl, for my whole life, I have always felt like, not now, I always felt like I had to be a certain way so people would like me because I was a fat girl. Society thinks I'm fat, so I'm fat. So I have to have this specific personality. I have to act this way, dress this way. And when I finally shed that bullshit belief that that's what I had to do and started being myself, one of the things that happened, and this is something that when you have low self-esteem or you've ever had low self-confidence, you question what do they really love you for? Do they really love you? Well, when you are who you are, and that circle gets smaller and you look around, those people love you for exactly who you are. And you don't have to question that anymore because you're being true to yourself, which is allowing them to just love you for everything that you have great and everything that's flawed, because we all have flaws. So,
well, I don't. I'm perfect, but everybody else has flaws.
It's funny because it brings me to a point where you do look around and you think, okay, I've been through these different traumatic experiences in my life, and here are the same people that have been consistent in my life and who's always brought me value. I thought of that yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday.
Happy
And
birthday.
thank you.
happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Thank you, ladies. And I looked around and I was like, man, the value of relationships. These people have been through the shit with me, but they've also been in this moment to share after everything has gone through. And we will go through these other levels of that will test who we are in life. Like these things that we're going through and we've written about already, it's not it. We're going to go through so many other things that are going to create more stories for us to allow to share with our audience and help them with their healing. So, this is just the start of it all. You're going to go through something else and you're going to need more connections and the right people in your life to help you go through that. So, yeah.
And that's so well said. Again, Tequila, I love what you're saying. Because that's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about the stories. And that's why we go through what we go through, is because someone ahead of us is reaching out a hand to us going, come on, I got you. And now I'm reaching out my hand behind me to someone else going, I got you. And it's just a chain of we've got each other and we're holding on to each other. And I'm just experiencing right now what I'm supposed to be sharing with somebody else tomorrow. And that's just the way it is. And if you can look at it from that lens, you're going to be okay. Yeah.
I have two things because I know we're going to wrap up soon. It's Caroline's birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Libra sister Tequila. Libra sisters in the house. I love it.
Haley, you still have to talk about your chapter.
Me?
You.
See, I thought I was going to skate by here and just be quiet in the corner.
No, because you wrote about something that isn't normally written about in a lot of these books. So do please share some.
Yeah, so I am sharing my family's mental health journey. I have a child with a traumatic brain injury, autism, and schizophrenia. And sharing the journey from the last 6 years that my family has gone through, and rebuilding after her traumatic brain injury and all of the hospitalizations, many, many, many hospitalizations, dealing with a tremendously broken mental health system. And the strange thing is that we're the lucky ones. And I know it probably doesn't sound that way, but my daughter has a roof over her head. She has excellent caregivers. She has all of the things where 99% of these patients end up homeless on the streets because that's how we treat our mental health patients in this country. Or they end up in prison. Because, of course, prison is a great way to treat mental health patients. And that's where most of our patients with this severe persistent mental illness end up. So talking about raising 3 other children while keeping everybody alive and building a business and growing a business in that type of an environment. It's been a challenge.
Making hard mom decisions.
Making some really hard, unpopular mom decisions for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of moms that can relate. And it's just one of those things we don't talk about. We don't talk about the times where we have to make decisions that we don't like the decision we have to make, but it's best for the larger part of the population in the family. So I'm excited to share that too. I'm so proud of everyone that came together on this book and how open everybody was, and how relatable you guys are, and how easy it is to see that people can contact you after. I think that's another thing that's great, is we have our contact information at the end of every chapter with an open door to have communication. And that's so important, because if you can read the chapter and resonate that well, you should have access to the woman that brought you there. I truly believe that. We need each other. And sometimes the women that we need, we just haven't met them yet. So it's us. It's us. You're meeting us now. So if you want to grab your pre-order for 99 cents today and get the awesome Possum free bonuses, which are a coloring / journal / planner book, as well as a anxiety and depression 7 strategies for coping, a free ebook that you can use for yourself, or you can give to somebody that you know and love that could really use it. And if you live in the United States of Canada, you will get a bumper sticker. I'm looking to see if I have it near me. Do not. It's a feminism bumper sticker. That's one of Erin's favorite sayings. Feminism is my second favorite F word. And if you're in the UK, you will get a free card reading by Carla Jane Hollingworth through your email, because we're not shipping a bumper sticker to the UK, guys. That's really expensive. So you can go to dragonslayerswearlipstick.com, and it has all the countries' Amazon links right there. So wherever you are, in the UK, Canada, or the US, it's right there. And then there's also a link that after you make your purchase, you click the link on that site and it will take you to the form to fill out with your Amazon order number. And then you will get your freebies. So go order, go pre-order, support women, supporting women. And half of the money goes to Safe in Harm's Way. And that is for both the ebook and the print book, which will be out later this month.
I actually want to add in too, when you said like supporting women, and you'd mentioned the patriarchy earlier too. And another thing about the power of this book is the more women are aware of that they're not alone, and the systems that you were talking about, Haley, like the really broken mental health systems, like every single one of our systems is just fucked right now. And the more we tell these stories, the more we shine a light on how broken those systems are. Once you know that, you can start changing it.
Right. And
so this book is literally changing the world. Sorry?
People that are social workers, people that work with the system know.
Yeah.
And I dare say in a lot of cases, our senators know. But because there's not a lot of pressure from people, there's not a lot of screaming about it.
Yep.
There's not that visibility. They're of course not going to focus on the funding that mental health needs and that these programs need.
The truth is, the only reason that our systems continue to exist is because the majority of the population buys into those systems, because that's what we're conditioned to do. And so the only way to change those systems is to educate people as to how broken they are and what they can do differently, so that they start making different choices. Because when the majority of the population says, I'm not doing that anymore, the systems are forced to change, right? And so this book is literally changing the world.
Yay! So thank you guys all for coming on today. And then we are actually having another live on the Safe in Harm's Way page tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. It is Caroline's birthday and book bash, conversation, cake, and cocktails. So hop on and have another conversation with us this evening. We would love to see you. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.